Well, I have to begin with Mary Oliver. People always do that. We call her Saint Mary Oliver. Might be one that you're less familiar with. It's called praying. It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention. Then patch a few words together and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but a doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak. So short and to the point. Brothers and sisters, it's so important that we don't tell you what to see. I can give you all kind of ideas that you might or might not like. I hope you like them, but they're just ideas, and they'll be gone in 48 hours. If you don't yourself allow a new processing system, some new software to be installed by which you take in reality in a new way, in a different way. So I'm afraid one of the great weaknesses of religion is we've told people what to see instead of how to see. Now, I gave you probably too much history last night, but it's the same as the history of contemplation. The word contemplation was used already by the desert fathers and mothers because already in the early centuries, the word prayer had become something functional, practical, problem-solving, making announcements to God. Even after Jesus said, "Why do you babble on like the pagans do? God knows what you need before you ask." But we pulled it into this problem-solving, functional technique to get God to do what we wanted, which is really what it often became. And so they recognized that they had to use a different word that talked about a different pair of glasses whereby you took in your experiences. Now, I began to talk about it last night when I talked about dualistic thinking, which is what most of us operate out of. You have to survive in this culture. To get here this morning, you had to know left from right. So it's entirely good in that order, on that level. I talk about this in the book, The Naked Now, but you hit a ceiling. And above the ceiling, when I wrote that book, I said there were 5 things above the ceiling that your dualistic mind could not process, and that was love, death, suffering, any honest notion of God, and any honest notion of infinity. Since I wrote that, I've added a 6th with sexuality. I do not think sexuality is subject to rational understanding. And unless you move to the realm of mystery and presence and relationality, which is the world where religion should understand things, you can't deal with the 6 biggies, if you will. And I think that's why we've had such poor sexual morality, why we've created so many atheists, because we gave people the dualistic mind and thought they could deal with numinous, transcendent things with an accessing system that was highly, highly inadequate. So, when we talk about contemplation, we're meaning the moving into non-dual thinking, where you don't divide the field of the moment into what you agree with and what you already understand and what you don't understand or don't agree with. Brothers and sisters, you've got to recognize that mind almost totally dominates Western culture. It's a constant stating of your preferences, what you like and what you don't like, who you like and who you don't like, who cares? That's what a spiritual master would say to you. Who cares what you like? Forgive you if I'm trying to insult you, all right? Forgive me. Who cares what you like? I want you to hear that. It doesn't matter. And you're setting yourself up for being unhappy most of your life because at least half of everything you won't like. So I'm just trying to give you a recipe for happiness so you can let everything belong and stop judging. Now, both Jesus and Buddha said, do not judge. If I can give you a different word that might make the point a little better, it's probably a better English word for what I'm convinced they were both trying to say. It's do not label. Labeling is an attempt to control things. It really is. It's an assumption I understand. I can give it a name, genus and species. So all the world religions understood this at the higher levels. But the fast food religion that was given most people on the street corner church in all of our denominations never talked about this because we just wanted you to, remember that codependency I talked about last night? We just want you to keep coming back. That sounds like a 12-step program, doesn't it? We don't want to really give you the tools so you can know for yourself. Because then you aren't quite as tied to us wonderful priests. You know, we want to keep you connected to us. And I understand that's the way, the only level of consciousness history was capable of till the middle of the last century or so was you didn't know who you were, but you knew what group you belonged to. You didn't have much inner self-knowledge, not much deep sense of soul, but you knew you were Irish, you knew you were Polish, you knew. And so belonging systems substituted for inner journeys, our real lives of prayer. And so I suppose in a lot of circles, the very word prayer is still sort of something abstruse or distant or impossible. So what we're allowing to happen all day, every day, and I do too, is we allow that deeper attention to be stolen from us by largely distraction. When Eckhart Tolle wrote his book in the late 90s, The Power of Now, he said, what we call thinking is, most of it is repetitive and useless. I'm continuing to insult you, I know. But that's what a spiritual teacher has to do. Humiliate the false self so the true self can emerge. Because if you stay tied to your false self is what is created by your own self-image, your own culture, your own occupation, your own good looks or bad looks or body weight or whatever. You know, all these things that people attach to. That's what's going to die when you die. And that's why we call it false self. It doesn't mean that much. It's true, but it's a relative truth. Now, the job of religion is to introduce you to, now I know this is going to sound pretentious, but stay with me, absolute truth, all right? To not just see this as H2O, you know, two molecules of this and that, but to see, in fact, this is a manifestation of the eternal self-emptying of God. Can you feel those are about 10 levels apart? All right? The higher level does not eliminate the lower level. It includes it, in fact. It honors it. It respects it. It uses it. But it doesn't just stay there. Now, the hardware that we want to have you operate with is this non-dual mind that doesn't divide the field of the moment into what you agree with and what you don't agree with, what you like and what you don't like, what is attractive to you and what is threatening to you. That's the egocentric self. And that means you're going to eliminate 50% of everything you ever experience. Because as soon as you see, oh, she doesn't look American, oh, probably threatening, you know, probably evil. I mean, this is not a stretch. But we're just not going to be able to create a great civilization if we remain at that level of stinking thinking, as the alcoholics call it, you know. Stinking thinking is dualistic thinking. So what you have to be trained to do, and at this point in history, it is a matter of, you know, being carefully taught. You have to learn how much you do that, how constantly you do that. As Eckhart Tolle said, most thinking is repetitive and useless, compulsive. There's one universal addiction, I talk about that in Breathing Underwater, and the universal addiction, without knowing hardly any of you personally, and again, I'm going to insult you, forgive me, but you all are addicted to your way of thinking, period. And that's what all religions discovered, the universal addiction. You process everything in one particular way, and that's pretty much in place by the time you're 20 years old. And unless people continue to grow, and most people don't appear to an awful lot, they still think in their 60s like they did in their 20s. I can see it myself. It's very humiliating when I see it. God, that's the way you thought about it when you were a kid. It's still your basic defense mechanism. So what you have to do is be humiliated by the paucity of your thinking, which even doesn't deserve the word thinking. It's not thinking. It's narcissistic reaction to the moment. It is. How does this affect me? Is this going to make me money? Well, she's good looking. Oh, stop it. Just stop it. You're never going to become wise. When you operate in that way, you objectify everything. Remember I talked last night about this template for reality, where the three do not objectify the other. It's always subject to subject to subject to subject. When you stop making an object of reality that you can codify and control and figure out and explain and make money from, you're dead in the water, spiritually speaking. I mean, you're never going to grow up. And there's a lot of people who've gone to church all their life, and no one has ever taught them this. That they still operate with childish operating system, an egoic operating system. So, first you have to be humiliated, so just watch how you think. Some of you are judging me right now. Well, I don't know if I like him. Why'd I have to wear that stupid shirt? We don't dress that way. He's in Florida. Doesn't he know he's in Florida? You don't wear flannel in Florida. But whatever you're thinking, just know that how you're processing me is how you process everything. If you are critiquing me, you're a critiquer. That's the way your mind works. Negate things, dismiss things, judge things, label things, control things. That's what the ego is after. Give you a false sense of control. How you do anything is how you do everything. Got it? How you're doing this moment is how you do life. Oh, it's so humiliating to see this. So you've got to suffer the humiliation. Move into that second box of disorder. Oh, darn it. Or you won't want to practice moving beyond it. You got to recognize how stupid it is, how useless it is, how fruitless it is, and then stop doing it. That's what you're doing in contemplative practice. You catch yourself every 3 seconds. There I go again. There I go again. There I go again. And little by little, it falls away.